Well, I just want you to know this. I have no Maker Mark bottles, so don't ask me for one. And I know it's what you want, Billy. We want one of those bottles. But to Randy, thank you for putting on this event, and to the honorees. I know this. Coach, Coach Jones is what I call him because he comes out to our practices all the time. Harry, he's one of our coaches, so he's the only guy that come into practice, and he does have a few tips for me every now and then. And to you, Sonny, and to Dwayne, you know, if you look at a program, I always talk about our academics and our academic center for what the contribution that he made to make that center an outstanding center to get in there with the computers and everything our student athletes need. Thank you. And that's why it's the Woodruff Academic Center. It's right there in our building. And what's so easy for us, if someone messes up academically, they go downstairs, we can find them. So in the evenings when we're meeting, they're in study hall, we can just go right downstairs and find them. And then Nagel, he came up to me last night, and he told me about his career, but then he also showed me a picture of his son. So he said, Coach, you're going to recruit him. So I said, Nagel, I don't know how good he is, but I'll make sure. I had my guy with me, Kenny Carter. We call him Preacher, so I put Preacher on him right away. So I'll let Carter handle that. To our coaching staff sitting back here in the back, I'd like to introduce them. Vance Bedford, our defensive coordinator, our defensive line coach, Clint Hurt, our added an addition to our outside line, to our secondary coach, Tommy Restivo, and to our linebacker coach, Brian John Marie. Our offensive coordinator, I know Watt's out on the golf course. I know Kenny Carter's out on the golf course. Our offensive line coach is Borb sitting right back there, Dave Borberly. Our wide receiver coach, Dukes, Ron Dugan. And our tight end coach, Sharon Moore. I got my strength coach here, Pat Moore, does an outstanding job making sure our guys get bigger, stronger, faster. And then we just made what I wanted to do is just make sure that once an athlete graduates from here, he had a career, but we prepared him for that career. So we had Larry Slade, he's in charge of community relations, and also we had a job fair the other night. It was unbelievable with the people who participated, and Larry did an outstanding job with that, and Larry Slade handles our just preparing our kids for the future. I have one of our graduate citizens, I see him back there, Justin Burke out of Lexington, played quarterback for us. But to Kroger, I had lunch with John. Really appreciate what you do for this community, and also to Dare to Care. And you're right, we can never know what they do, because as a coach, we just get them out there on the field, get them going, get them ready for the future, but just what they do everyday life for people. But when you look at this season, we're all looking forward to this season. And people always talk about, you know, how good you're going to be from, and everyone always talk about what you have and then just where you come from. And just remember this, people. We're 2 years into it. We're going into our third season. We're similar to Kentucky, still a very young football team. We have 9 seniors. So when you have 9 seniors and you're short on leadership, it has to come from the coaching staff. And I know this, 2 years ago, no one thought we'd ever win a football game. I said, someone told me, they said, Coach, if you just get me 1 or 2 wins, we'll be happy. And I just never heard that before. But I said, we're never going to try to get you 1 or 2 wins. We're going to try to go win as many as we possibly can. And then last season, our first season here, we had a lot of seniors. Last season, we didn't have many at all. And then we were able to put it together. We were 2-4 and able to go win 5 out of the last 6 games. But this football team is a team that when you haven't been consistent in winning, then you just don't really know where you are with your football team, because you just don't know how they're going to come out. A lot of times they get complacent. And you can't really I don't know why they would ever get complacent, because we really haven't done that. But they start listening to what everyone is saying. It's the noise in the system. So let's slow it down. And all that pressure that comes, and you never should have pressure when you prepare a football team. And that's the way we feel as a coaching staff. But when you hear it so much from the media, then they start believing it. And then you get on the Twitter and guys start talking. And Joker made a good point a while ago. All the talking, all that's for some guys don't even play, does all the talking when they need to just shut up. And then because you have to play the game. The game's going to come to you. So you have to play the game. So we don't need to put anything out there. Just worry about your program, worry about your football team. But we'll open it up to questions. And please feel free to ask me anything you like. Well, what you like to bring up and what you like to understand is you would think that after losing games that we should have won, what you think you should have won. You bring up Marshall, and Marshall's a good football team, but they end up, and on any given day, that could happen to you, and that happened to us. Happened to us against FIU. You go beat West Virginia, and then you come home and lose to a Pittsburgh team. But what guys still have to understand is you have to work, and you have to prove it on the football field. But when you haven't had a consistent win game by game, season by season, then it's hard for guys to really understand that. Because when people tell you you're not very good, and then you go beat somebody you shouldn't beat, then they start thinking, oh, we have arrived, when you haven't, because you just played one football game. So we're just going to try to just manage it within where you just try to tell them every day, where you just feed it to them, feed it to them, feed it to them. Don't believe everything. You have to still go work and get it done on the practice field.
Charlie, what do you like the most about your team?
Well, what you like to say is that being 3 years into a program, you're thinking that now that this is your football team. And even with the seniors, even though we have 9, but they're your team now. And so now what you hope that what you've taught them the last 2 years, now it all can start coming together as being a football team, being reliable, being responsible, being accountable to one another. You're hoping that can start building within your program.
Charlie, how do you motivate differently when you're the favorite rather than the underdog? How does that play in?
Well, it's all about the team and just the preparation, and we just knowing it's just week by week that when we go play someone, we as a coaching staff have to make sure that our team is prepared to go play.
Coach, you know everything in the state. It's always comparing the teams. How do you think your team would do in an SEC schedule?
Oh, I don't want that schedule. No. But it not only do they compare the teams, they compare Joker and I, because we get that all the time. Well, Joker's going to do it. Well, Charlie, if you don't do it, well, Joker's going to do it. But we get that a lot. But when you look at it, it's just, you're looking at conferences, and then, the Southeastern Conference, which Kentucky is in, and I've coached in that conference for a long time, is a very competitive conference, just like what you have right now. So it's just so hard to say what you would be like because you've never been in that conference, and just because each week is preparation, is who you're playing. So it doesn't matter who you play. You have to get your team prepared to go play.
Coach Strong, in terms of expectations, what are your personal expectations?
I just want to make sure that when we go play, that we're prepared to go play. That our coaching staff has done a great job of preparation with our team, that when we line up, that it's just the small mistakes. Like offensively, you don't want to turn the football over. You want to play with great fundamentals. Defensively, you don't want to give up the big play. In the kicking game, you want to make sure that, you don't get the long returns. But it's all about just preparing your football team. And once they hit the football field, that you're pleased and you're happy to see, and hoping that what you coach them during the week, that you'll see it on game day. Well, it doesn't matter who you line up with, because if we were playing whomever game one, it'd still be the same sense of urgency. And we know you never want to downplay this rival, but it's the first game this season. Usually it's going to be the third game next season. But it's always whomever you play in the first game, you just have to get prepared to go play. Well, it's more with the fans, because I think they're doing all the talking right now, and maybe because we haven't been placed in that position before. But just our coaching staff, and we have a lot of experience on our coaching staff, and a lot of guys on our coaching staff have won national championships, and they've been placed in a position where they've been favored to go win a conference early. So we're hoping with that experience that's on that staff that we can carry it over to our players, not to get cocky, not to get arrogant, but just go work. You got yourselves to this point. Why are you favored, or wherever you're favored, second, third, whatever, in this conference? You're favored in this conference because of the work that you put into it right now. So let's make sure that we do not lose sight of that.
You coach at the very highest level, national championship type teams. You've got coaches there, so you know what it's supposed to look like. How do you use that with your players when they think they've gotten to a certain level, when you know where you really need to get?
Well, it's going to come, Eric, when we go out to practice, because it shows. When you have a football team and a football team is not performing well, or a football team is not actually performing up to your level, then it shows at practice. So you just have to make sure when we go out and practice that we don't slip and we don't let anything get by. And then the same work ethic that has gotten us to this point, let's continue on. We don't need to pull back because of wherever you are right now. You know what you need to do now? Let's go drive them harder now. And let's go make sure that doesn't happen within this program.
Coach, when you won the game last year, you were so excited to get that trophy at Louisville in that trophy case. How bad do you want to keep it?
Well, what happened is when you go into it, Kentucky has won 4 out of the last 5. So it's still they have the advantage over us. So it's more like, hey, with any game you want to go win, but it was one of those where they won 4 straight, and to go and win in Lexington was big. But you're looking at it, they have the same thing. You're looking at 2 teams that are very young football teams. So it's going to be just a preparation of guys just getting ready with the experience and seeing who can develop the leadership early.
Charlie, what do you like most about your football team? Does anything concern you?
I'm sorry.
What do you like most about your football team? Does anything worry you or concern you?
Well, there's always concerns because you're looking at it with 9 seniors. You're looking at a schedule where you go on the road 5 games and 4 out of 5 teams were bowl teams last year. We played 3 short weeks this year. We go play Kentucky on Sunday, then we bounce back on a Saturday. We go play South Florida on a Saturday, and we would come back and play Cincinnati on a Friday night. Then we go and play Connecticut, and then we come back on a Thursday and play Rutgers. So you have a schedule there that's pretty demanding. Now, how quickly can we turn it and get the preparation headed for that next opponent? But it's all about just your football team, and you have so many different personalities. So now it's just about grouping them together and making sure that we can develop as a football team and we can come together as that.
Charlie, what do you expect from Teddy this year, and how impressed have you been with how he's handled everything since the end of last season?
Well, if you look at it in Teddy, and I take it in Teddy just because he's a quarterback and he has that ball in his hand, and he has to go make a lot of decisions. But it's a lot of guys that's around Teddy too, because you look at just on the offensive line. You look at John Miller was a freshman, started at guard. Jamon Brown's a freshman outside of tackle, and then you have a redshirt freshman also at guard with Jake Smith. So there's a lot of Eli Rogers, but there's a lot of guys that also need to develop with Teddy. And so it's not so much, Teddy does need to develop, but those guys around him also need to develop. Teddy's going to have to develop more because of him he just need to study it more in the classroom. He has to see more things. Because when you come out of high school to college, it's a totally different ballgame. And he learned that very fast because he had to grow up very quickly last season.
You've been a part of some teams with some great quarterbacks. How does he stack up at this point in his development?
Well, he still needs to develop because, you think about guys that have been around, some of those guys like the Tebows, the Chris Leaks, those guys continue to make themselves better. And Teddy Bridgewater will do that also because once he knows that this is his team, then each week he knows that he's got to get better because only way this team's going to win, the success, how well he plays, this football team will go also.
Say, is that right, Fran?
No, Fran ain't going to say that for me, though.
Any other questions for
We're good.
Coach?
Coach, when you combine the opportunity you have this year in the conference and playing on a national stage on a Sunday, almost having a stage yourself, how big is that for the program to have that stage?
Well, it's great for both programs because now you have a Sunday where we're the only 2 teams that are playing that day. So a lot of people will be watching that game, which is great. And you get the exposure and everyone get a chance to see both teams. And more importantly, recruits get a chance to see both teams.
Charlie, you talked about the lack of leadership from the players. Is there or are there a couple of guys who really need to step up as players and accept that role?
Well, you just have to look at the whole football team. You have 9 seniors, and then you have a junior class that had to play when they were freshmen, and a sophomore class had to play. So it's a combination of everyone on the team. Now, who is it going to come from? It will just know through camp. But some guys are really trying to be a leader. But it's so hard when you haven't been a consistent starter or you haven't been a consistent winner. So now you get one of those guys got to step up. Now, who's it going to be?
Charlie, how much do you monitor your players' Twitter comments? There's been a couple comments this summer that were confident. I'm just curious how much you or anyone on your staff pays attention.
Well, you get the comments because you hear it all the time. So when a guy says something that he shouldn't say, then it usually is going to come off, and you'll see it's tracked down fairly quickly. But what people, it's social media, and I say it all the time, it's going to be the downfall of society. People tweet, it is. People you never realize once you tweet, and it's there, and it's never going to go away. And people try, well, I can go take it off. No, once it's posted, it's posted. But we just have to be smart about what we do and what we say. All righty. Thank you very much.